deal
Keep
with,
going.
I mean, you like that? You caught that.
Okay, filibuster, ma'am.
All right, let's get some reaction to all of this. So pleased to have with us today Republican Congressman from Tennessee, Congressman Andy Ogles. Welcome in.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right, so that laugh came out again. She must have been letting down her defensive there. A little bit of a softball. I was surprised, Congressman Ogles, because Trump's ad with Charlemagne talked about he was super against the transgender policies that she has, you know, the sex transgender surgeries for inmates. Were you surprised by the tone of this interview and how he sort of shifted, or if you will, pandered a bit to her?
Oh, well, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, I think the crux of her campaign is the corporate media cleaning up her mess. You know, it's another mess on aisle 3. You know, you could ask her what she had for lunch, and she would answer you with, well, you know, I grew up in the middle class. You know, she can't answer a question because she has no substance to her answers. She has no policy positions. This is why we're going to win this election. This is a pocketbook election. This is an election about crime. Every American city is worse off today, whether economically or because of crime. You know, the streets of New York are barely safe to walk in now because of the open border and the sanctuary status situation. That's why I issued the articles of impeachment. We needed to hold her accountable. We wanted to update the stats and go on record for the American people to know how much of a failure she's been on the southern border.
You introduced those in June of last year with her work as the border, you know, czar, and then you also enlarge them because the 25th Amendment. And we all know that there was this switch out here. When it comes to the border, they did go there in yesterday's interview. I'll play this, Congressman, and we can discuss after.
Doesn't the Biden administration have to take some blame for the border, though? A lot of the blame? Because, I mean, the first 3 years, y'all did get a lot of things wrong with the border.
Charlemagne, first thing we dropped was a bill to fix the broken immigration system, which, by the way, Trump did not fix when he was president.
Well, the first thing they did was actually to stop funding for the wall. And we know there were dozens of other Trump-era policies that they did dismantle. That's part of what you put in your articles of impeachment. I mean, looking back, you were sort of ahead of all of this, you know, but optimism, you know, I'm sure you knew that it was probably just not going to move. But the message was sent then, and hopefully now as well, Congressman Ogles.
That's right. You know, when you look at divided government, our founding fathers intended for there to be friction and conflict, that you're going to have these stalemates, if you will, but you still drive the narrative. You still fight these fights. And so I wanted to go on the record and, again, lay out the facts. We did our research. We looked at all the crimes that are being committed around the country. You have 12, 13, 14-year-old girls being systematically targeted by illegals from other countries. You've seen the rapes in Iowa, New York, Virginia, Louisiana, Texas. The list goes on and on and on. You've seen the crime go up. And for her to try to say that, well, this is Trump's fault, that she tried to fix a border that she only visited, what, once at this point? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. If she was in the military, she would be derelict in her duty and perhaps AWOL because she abandoned her post. And America needs to know that. America needs to vote their conscience, which is to vote for Donald Trump, so we can secure this country, so we can fight crime, and we can get our economy back on track.
And the border is so problematic, as you just mentioned, the heartbreaking piece of it with the sex trafficking, the children missing, I believe that 320,000 missing children. There's not outrage on that. There's not outrage either that we have all these known terrorists being captured and the ones that we don't know. The Afghan national that was arrested recently for plotting an election day attack. Now it turns out a relative yesterday charged in France for, trying to plot a terror attack on French soccer teams or a shopping center. These attacks, every time they're thwarted, it's almost like the media, and we know Mayorkas didn't want to answer the questions about it because their hands, there's blood on their hands with all of these people.
Well, absolutely. And again, this is the corporate media covering up for the Harris-Biden administration. Look, if Trump allowed 300, 400, 500 terrorists to come into this country, if Trump had lost 300,000 children and he was up for re-election, that's all you would hear about. But they're not going to hold her accountable because they have an agenda, and the agenda is to help her get elected. Again, her campaign is based on the false narratives driven by the woke corporate media. Unfortunately, we have people like you that are, voices of truth and conservatism that hold to our conservative Christian values and want to get this country back on track. And so I do believe this is one of those historic elections. I mean, every generation thinks that, but you have those moments in time that you can pinpoint on a map that say, that moment was pivotal for the future of our country. And this is one of those moments. The pen in history is about to be put in its place. And hopefully the American people will get it right. I was on the phone with Jim Jordan yesterday. He's traveling around the country. What he says is the energy on the ground is there. In these battleground states, we're going to win. We're going to win the House, we're going to win the White House, and we're going to win the Senate. And when we do that, we can get this country back on track.
I do agree. This is, it's now 20 days. In our final 20 seconds or so, Congressman Ogles, I do want you to react to, we had Kamala Harris on the tarmac about a half an hour ago, and she said Donald Trump, in her words, is increasingly, unfit to be president. This is some rhetoric now that they're resurrecting. Obviously, their poll numbers are crumbling, but that's where they're going again. Just your reaction to this.
Well, I mean, it's one of those, because they don't have substantive policy issues or solutions, the only thing they can do is cast aspersions or call names. I mean, this is worse than the playground at my kid's school, right? All they can do is call names and try to bully people into voting for them. In reality, the American people are wise to this. They know they're not better off anymore. They know that Donald Trump's economy was better. They know the streets were safer when Donald Trump was president.
And they know when Tennessee was getting ravaged a few weeks ago by that hurricane, Joe Biden was literally photographed sitting at a beach and she was picking up checks.
That's right.
Hard to forget those images. Congressman Andy Ogles, come
Absolutely.
back and visit. Great to have you. Thank you so much.